Welcome friends to another r/malicious compliance video. I want to give a quick shout out to last week's giveaway winner, Red Hawk. As always, I'm giving away a $20 Amazon gift card. If you're interested, all you have to do is leave as many comments as you'd like on any video I upload this week, Monday to Sunday, on this channel and my second channel, Storytime. At the end of the week, I'll draw a random commenter, so best of luck to you guys, and I'm really looking forward to seeing all your guys' comments because I appreciate every single one of you and every comment you leave. And as always, if you enjoy these stories, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. Our first story of the day is by Luther Williams. Accuse my salesperson of forgery? Awesome, your service is canceled. I used to be a sales manager for a business-to-business services company. We provided a service to businesses. Unlike a lot of companies, we would not auto-renew a client's service unless they signed a new contract. The contracts were generally for 1 to 3 years. All our contracts were signed on an iPad that recorded the GPS coordinates of where the document was signed, and we emailed the client a copy of the agreement instantly. And in the email, we basically said, if you disagree with this contract or would like to make changes, contact us within 5 business days. If you don't, we will move forward and bill accordingly. In addition, one of the cancellation terms in the contract was dishonesty. If the client could prove we were dishonest, they had a right to cancel without penalty. If the client acted dishonestly, we had the right to cancel their contract with us. There was a client that was actually quite a small account, but always proved to cause a lot of headache for my reps. I remember calling the rep and going over the common issues I've seen with this client, and I stressed get the signature on the iPad in his office. I also stressed that if the client wanted to cancel, let him cancel, because he's proven to be very difficult to work with. Salesman went to the sales call, signature was changed, client service was executed according to the terms of the contract. 4 months later, I get an email from a customer service rep. The client is claiming that my salesman forged the client's signature. I did my due diligence before calling the client. I checked where the newest contract was signed. It was signed in the client's place of business via the iPad. I compared the signature on the newest contract to the many signatures on the numerous contracts we had on file. With the same signer from the client, they were all very close. I also looked at the email that we sent to the client right after the contract was signed. The client opened the link to see his contract 65 minutes after the contract was signed and did nothing. Also, the link was open for several minutes. I looked up the client's current billing status. He was 45 days behind. He knew we didn't start charging late fees until 60 days behind, and at 120 days, we would begin litigation and collection account status. I called up the client, and this is how the call went. I said, "Hello, this is Luther from ABC. I was told you're accusing my sales rep of forging your signature on the renewal." The client says, "Yes, I never agreed to pay that much. I never would have. I told him to give me a discount, and I wanted to see it in writing before I signed." I ask, "And did he give you a discount and show it to you in writing?" The client says, "No, he said he had to go talk to his boss, and I never heard back from him." I said, "Okay, and then what happened?" The client said, "Well, y'all kept up the service, and I noticed on my billing it hadn't gone down, but up in cost. And I looked back in my emails and saw the sales rep forged my signature, and that's illegal." I said, "Yes, you're right. If the salesperson did forge your signature, that's illegal." The client says, "Well, good to see we agree on that." I say, "After the contract was signed, regardless if the signature was forged or not, you would have gotten an email with a link to the contract asking you to verify that everything is correct, and if it's not, to let us know within 5 business days. Did you get the email? If you did get the email, did you review the contract?" The client says, "Well, yes, but I was pretty busy and didn't open the email until recently." I say, "I totally get it. We're busy nowadays. So assuming he did forge the signature, what would you consider an acceptable resolution to this? Would you want to end service with no penalty? Would you like a discount?" The client says, "I would want a discount." I say, "And what would you consider an acceptable discount?" The client says, 3 months of free service." I say, "Got it." Well, Mr. Client, I've got several problems with your claim that my sales rep forged your signature, and before I fire this salesperson for forgery and offer you a discount, I'd like to see if we can't address those problems. The client says sounds fair. I say, the signature was captured on our iPads, which records the GPS coordinates of where the signature happened. Per the GPS coordinates, it happened inside your place of business. The client says, well, he knows that, right? I say, yes, he did. The client says, that just means he forged it inside my building. I say, okay, well, the next issue is the signature on the renewal contract looks exactly like the previous contracts. The client says, he just copied my signature. I know I didn't sign that. I say, could it be possible someone else in your company signed it? They say, no. Everyone here knows I'm the only one that gets to sign those contracts. I say, I understand. The next issue I have with your claim is that the link to the contract that was emailed to you was opened 65 minutes after the contract was signed. The client said, no, it wasn't. I say, yes, sir, it was. The reason why we have you click a link to view the signed contract is so we know if you opened the link or not. Not only that, it appears like the link was open for several minutes, which to me would indicate the person who opened the link reviewed the contract. Also, the fact that no one ever responded to the email would indicate to me the person who reviewed the contract was fine. The client says, are you accusing me of lying? I say yes, and because of that, I will be canceling your service with us, effective immediately. How would you like us to pay your current balance? The client says, you're canceling my service and want me to pay? I say, yes, I want you to pay for the services we provided. The client says, I'm not going to pay. I say, if you're not going to pay for the services we provided, I'm going to refer you to our collections department, and they'll add late fees, and if you don't pay them, they'll refer you to our law firm for litigation. The client says, we have a contract. You can't just cancel my service. I say, actually, I can, since I have good reason to believe you're lying about the accusation that my salesperson forged your signature. Everything I have says that you signed it. Our contract states that we cancel your contract for being dishonest, and that's what we're going to do. The client said, freak you, and hung up. I referred the client to collections. He eventually paid them without us having to sue him. Honestly, we probably would have just sold his debt to a collection agency due to the dollar amount not being high enough to be worth it to sue. I feel like this is a great example of why you need to always make sure to cover yourself whenever possible. If you're ever doing some kind of contract work or making a deal or licensing somebody to do something, do you always make sure to have extra documentation to back up everything? Let me know if that's something you do in the comments down below. This next story is by Renticle. Can't leave before the end of my notice period? No problem. Last month, my manager drops a bombshell. The company has decided to scrap the big project that my team's been working on for the past 2 years. We must wrap everything up, and starting from June, we'll all be moved to different teams. Now, I'm a data analyst, and the company doesn't have any open projects that require a data analyst. So they looked at my profile, saw I had some basic knowledge of programming, and decided to move me to the dev team. Both me and the dev team think it's an insane idea, because I'll need lots of training before I become useful, and I don't even want to be a full-time dev. But upper management hasn't bothered to ask for our opinion before making all the arrangements. I immediately start looking for a new job, and as luck would have it, there's an extremely high request for data analysts in my area. Within a few weeks, I have an offer in hand, and I give my notice. My contract, I'm in the EU, is very strict regarding notice periods. A resigning employee must give 2 months' notice. This is entirely for the benefit of the company that will need to find a replacement. The same applies when a company fires an employee, they must give the employee 2 months' notice. However, it's possible to shorten the notice period by mutual agreement. So when I sit down with my manager and HR, I tell them I'd like to only give 2 weeks notice and leave at the end of May. I tell them that I've already started wrapping up my activities before my move to the dev team, and I don't have any ongoing projects that I need to transfer to my colleagues, so 2 weeks would be more than enough to finish documenting everything. They say absolutely no. I have to stay here for the entire 2-month period, which is fine by me. My new job doesn't start until August, and I don't mind being paid in the meantime. The only reason I suggested shortening the notice period was because I thought I'd be doing the company a favor. I thought I'd be stealing their paycheck if I stayed for 2 months, even though I don't have anything left to do. But since they pretty much told me I was being unprofessional, or that I was trying to cut and run, okay. I'll take their money in exchange for sitting around doing nothing for a few more weeks. You may think, but OP, they're going to find some boring task for you. Well, they can certainly try, but the projects they're working on are so different from what I do that I'm pretty much useless to them. For example, someone will ask, "Can you do XYZ?" And I will honestly answer, "I have no idea what XYZ even is, but I'll be happy to help if you teach me." At that point, they'll say it would take too long and it's not worth it to train me since I'm leaving soon. So my working days now go like this. I show up at 9 a.m. sharp and go to my office, where I'm the only person since the others are moved to different teams. I have a leisurely second breakfast, check my email, then I send a message to our teams group letting them know that I'm free and to ask me if they need help with anything. Then I remote into my home PC and play until lunchtime. I have lunch, coffee, I chat with my coworkers. They're quite nice. It's too bad that upper management is crazy. I'm going to miss them. In the afternoon, I usually check Reddit. I chat with my friends if they're online, play a bit more, and I'm out of the door at 5 p.m. By the way, they would like for me to vacate the office so they can use it as a meeting room, but they can't until I leave. There's no empty desks anywhere. The dev team already hired someone else and has no space, so tough luck. Honestly, I love that OP was trying to do the company a favor, and I'm not sure if it was like an ego thing or a concern thing, but they got worried that OP was trying to pull one over on them or take advantage of them somehow, and in a weird way, they ended up taking advantage of themselves. Just gave OP something nice to enjoy before their new job. And our final story of the day is by CodePone2, Trim the Hedges. Growing up was very interesting, as my parents were divorced and I had ADHD, or whatever they're calling it this week. Not so much hyper, but definitely the ADD, and that led to a lot of malicious compliance on my part. Here's one. As a teenager, my parents were divorced and money was an issue, so no allowance to do the things teenagers like to do. This also meant no car, no insurance, you get the idea. I watched some friends work minimum wage jobs and hated that idea, so instead, I found a lawnmower and started mowing lawns. I lived in a middle-class neighborhood, so 5 to 6 lawns, $20 a pop, a weekend, would give you some nice spending cash in the 90s. One customer, a few streets away, asked me to trim the hedges for him. I don't know how or have the tools, but he did. He showed me what he expected, and I made it happen. They looked great. He was so happy he gave me $100. In today's money, that would be about $250. When I got home, I excitedly told my mom what happened. My mom, as wonderful as she was, misunderstood life in general. In her mind, if you fixed a car issue, suddenly you were the car expert and knew everything about cars. Same thing with cooking, computers, audio and video, and yard work. She proceeded to tell me to do the same for the bushes in front of our house. I tried to tell her I didn't have the tools and was only following his instructions. They weren't hedges, but she was adamant I do it, to the point she starts screaming at me. What would any 16-year-old teenager do? Go and grab our replica samurai sword, sharp as all, and start to hack away at the bushes in front of our house. Now, my neighbors knew my mom had unrealistic expectations from previous events, but even this was odd. One of our neighbors came over asking me in a heavy southern accent, "What in the heck are you doing?" I say, "Cut someone's hedges," and Mom suddenly thinks I know how to trim bushes. The neighbor says, that again. "You, wanna borrow some powered clippers?" I say, "Nope, I'm steaming mad at the moment." Mom, hearing the neighbor, comes out and sees her bushes partially mangled. She says, What in the heck are you doing?" I say trimming the bushes, as I proceed to whack a few more. She says, I meant how you're supposed to. I say, sure, whack. With what tools? Whack. I'm a genius, right? Whack. I trim someone's hedges. Whack. So I must be able to magically trim bushes. Whack. Mom looks befuddled as I continue to hack away using a replica samurai sword. Neighbor steps in, patting me on the back and says, I think she got the message. As I turn to look at her with a shocked/befuddled look on her face, I took my shirt and cleaned the now dented blade and walked inside to go take a shower. I'd love to say this kind of behavior stopped, but it never did. She also never asked me to trim the bushes again. Well, I guess if there's any takeaway from it, it does sound like trimming the bushes using a samurai sword is kind of fun. And being a little petty and having a little bit of malicious compliance and petty revenge all in one here sounds like it was something to laugh about. Hopefully OP's mom sees the lighter side of things and they can laugh together looking back on it. But with that being said, that's a wrap on another bunch of stories here today. As always, if you guys have any favorite videos of this bunch, let me know which one in the comments down below and why. And if you enjoyed the stories in general, if you could subscribe to this channel, it'd mean a lot to me. I make these videos daily, and it's by far and away the best way to support my channel. So no matter what you did, whether it was subscribing or liking, leaving a comment, I just appreciate the heck out of you guys. And as always, I'll be back tomorrow with even more stories right here on the Storytime channel.